And as always, your views and comments are welcome here on the program. Look for us on social media, on Facebook and on Twitter. Search for John News on TV. Type them out, find us and drop your comments. We'll be glad to share your thoughts with the rest of the world. Now, the Supreme Court has ordered government to produce Ghana's agreements with the United States of America today, which informed its decision to admit into Ghana 2 former inmates at the Guantanamo Bay. Early this year, 2 private citizens, Margaret Banfo and Henry Nanabuachi, sued the Attorney General and the Minister for Justice together with the Interior Minister. They accused the President of illegally bringing in the 2 former GITMO detainees in contravention of the laws of the state. The 2 plaintiffs sought, among other reliefs, a declaration that on a true and proper interpretation of Article 75 of the Constitution of Ghana, the President acted unconstitutionally by agreeing to the transfer of Mahmoud Umar Mohammed bin Atef and Khalid Mohammed Saleh Al-Dubi into Ghana. Well, Raymond Akko was our man in court, and he joins me on the line for more on this story. We'll get to him in just a moment, but you will recall that this matter became one that was highly controversial earlier this year and even in some parts of last year, when we were made to understand that indeed, per the President of the U.S., Barack Obama's directive, that these 2 individuals be sent to Ghana as part of his plan of emptying the Guantanamo Bay in Cuba. We had to house these individuals for 2 years. That raised a lot of questions about whether or not Parliament's buy-in was taken, whether this agreement represented the decision that the country had to take at the time. Many raised questions about this, and that has prompted these 2 private individuals to go to the court and demand that the agreement covering this transfer of the detainees from Guantanamo are released for all Ghanaians to get to see what's in it. Well, today in court, the Supreme Court did say that indeed they will have to look at those details, but dismiss the case summarily. We will find out from our reporter how these 2 play out concurrently, considering that if a case is dismissed, what does it mean for the party involved or the Attorney General to provide the documents in question? Also, what does this do to the entire process of the detainees in the country today? Well, we still don't know where they are. In fact, we don't know their exact location, but we do know that they are in the country in a safe house, serving the rest of their term outside the confines of Guantanamo. Right, and on this case, the lawyer for the plaintiffs will join us in the studio in just a moment, but while we wait and get that for you here on the program, let's move to another matter also that has caught our attention from yesterday when the announcement was made, because today we're learning that pressure is indeed mounting on President John Mahama as supporters of the governing National Democratic Congress have massed up at the party's headquarters demanding a presidential pardon for Mr. Saleh Fumase and 2 others jailed 4 months for making contemptuous comments on Accra-based Muntie FM. The 3 men, Mr. Mase, Alistair Nelson, and Gordon Akogana, are currently spending their first day in prison after the Supreme Court handed them the sentence. But the president has been petitioned by the contemnors asking for him to activate his power to grant them a pardon. That's captured in Article 72 of the Constitution. Well, we'll tell you what this petition entails and what that will mean for what's happening to these individuals who we are learning are at the Inside prison as we speak. But Joseph Akable, my colleague, spent the whole of the morning and a bit of this afternoon at the NDC headquarters, where many of the supporters have thronged, asking that this wish they're asking for is granted. Let's get more details from him now. Good afternoon to you, Joseph. In the morning, yes, they had made their way there making certain demands, but tell us what happened, what you saw today.
Now at about 9 a.m. they started trooping into the party headquarters at Adabraka. They were not allowed to enter the main premises. The security declined them access to the premises. They waited patiently at the main entrance for a party official to come in and interact with them. Now, speaking to them at that point in time, they are complaining that they disagree with the sentence coming in from the Supreme Court. They have the opinion that it's a harsh sentence, and interacting with some of them, they made reference to certain comments that some political actors have made in the past. So they talked about comments made by Kennedy Japan. They also talked about some comments made by the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party and Adan Akufo-Addo that they feel could merit such sentence that was meted out to these gentlemen. They add that the gentlemen had gone on record to have apologized and had pleaded guilty to the court, so they expected the court to be a bit lenient in terms of the sentencing on them. So they were basically there to protest to their leadership because they want the party leadership to mount pressure on the president to exercise the prerogative of mercy power that the Constitution Article 72 allows him to exercise. Now later in the day, police officials from the Adabraka police station led by Superintendent Kwesi Ofori, they came in to assess the situation. The first, the leader went in and interacted with the party chairman. Now before that, the party chairman had talked to the supporters where he had urged them to calm down. He told them that early yesterday when the sentence was delivered, the party national organizer, Mr. Kofi Adams, led the contemnors to the prisons. Afterwards, he also visited their families, so they were in safe hands and that they should relax. And aside that too, he also gave the indication that the president might be meeting the Council of State soon to decide on whether he should indeed grant the pardon or he shouldn't grant them the pardon.
Okay. Now, sorry, let me just quickly pick this intervention we're getting today on this matter, because you know already that in the ruling that was given, or in the sentence given yesterday, the company was to pay some 30,000 Ghana cedis. I'm talking about Networking Broadcasting Limited, as well as the 3 contemnors. Each of them is to pay 10,000 Ghana cedis by close of day today. Let's get an update for you now. Godwin Tamaklo is lawyer for Mr. Akugan and Mr. Nelson, 2 of the contemnors in this matter. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Tamaklo. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, good afternoon, and to your listeners, how are you?
I'm good, thanks for asking. So, we learned yesterday that your clients are supposed to make the payment of some 10,000 Ghana cedis each today. Has that payment been made?
No, I have to engage in something else, so I'm here to contact my other colleague to find out what has happened.
But as of yesterday, when the ruling was given up until this minute, has there been any arrangements to get the cash to pay to the courts?
We would want to comply with the orders, so we will take every available step to do so. We have no intention to not to comply with any order.
Okay, I do understand that, but if there is a difficulty, of course, we know what the options are: pay up or 1 more month. Is that option being explored at all, the extra month?
I'm sure persons who have been in prison for 4 months should not fear being in there for additional 1 month, if that's your fear.
So you're saying that is also a possibility if the cash is not paid by close of day today?
If the payment is not done, what consequence flows from it? I mean, the order of the court is clear, so either you comply or you don't comply. Yes.
Okay. Now, we also know that your clients have asked that a petition is sent to the president for some intervention in this matter. Has that petition been sent to the president yet?
We have received instructions from our clients to petition on their behalf. We are taking steps to do that.
So we know on good authority that the president has received this petition.
Like I indicated to you, we have taken steps to work on the express instructions of our clients.
Okay. Now, when your clients made this call for the president's intervention, what was the understanding in making this call?
The president has the powers under Article. Like we have always indicated, we have in fact expressed our disappointment about the conviction, especially the sentencing. Now, the court decided to impose a sentence of 4 months on them. Now, that is what the court has done. We initially indicated to the court that with the initiatives taken by our clients, that should be enough to mitigate any custodian sentence. The court thought otherwise. We believe that there is another coordinate arm of government that coordinating arm of government also has certain powers under the same 1992 Constitution. So we have made some supplications on behalf of our clients to that arm of government.
Okay.
We await the outcome of that.
Now, with this application you've made, many would want a bit of education on this leg. What happens with the process if the president is to trigger Article 72? What happens?
He simply would have to consult with the Council of States on that. And once the Council of State agrees with same, nothing precludes the president to do that. What is constitutional?
Because we also need to understand that the convention known in the past for pardon or any kind of prerogative of mercy by the president goes through a very elaborate process beyond the Council of State. In fact, the prison service in its work it does across the country for individuals who are inmates at all their correctional facilities, a report is sent on individuals who have been of good behavior, have been reformed, and then that is gone.
Don't convolute matters. The president has powers based on having to consult with the Council of State to show mercy. You are signing reason why he should show mercy based on good behavior. That's just one. The president's decision to show mercy is not subject to the person having to demonstrate good behavior or whatever. It is just one of the reasons he made on the basis, say, he's commuting somebody's imprisonment to say something else. You understand? So it shouldn't be the case, as you are trying to point it out, that that is what must be done under the circumstance. Not at all.
Well, what would you say to some who also look at this and say, is this law in any way stampeding or railroading the job of an independent arm of government, the judiciary?
In the superior wisdom of the framers of the 1992 Constitution, whereas the independence of the judiciary is preserved under Article 127, the president, that notwithstanding, has powers. And in fact, the president has demonstrated from former President Rawlings, Kufuor, Atta Mills, and now President John Dramani Mahama. In fact, the most recent had to do with about 800 and something prisoners whose various terms of imprisonment have been commuted to various things. As you are aware, the president had no, difficulty at all in getting out of prison the NPP MP for Boku, Honorable Dramani Sakande, on health grounds. So there are several grounds that the president can do. So we are saying that these young men are citizens of this republic, and therefore we having their instruction to do what we are taking steps to do.
Now, with the petition you sent to the president, do you have any idea how soon, how urgent you want the response?
We do not even want our client to spend a day in prison. So as soon as the president can listen to our supplication and prayer, we can only be thankful to him.
Okay, Mr. Tamaklo, thank you for your time. That's lawyer for two of the contemnors, Mr. Alistair Nelson and Godwin Akagan. As you heard him mention, for the monies that are supposed to be paid today, that has not been done yet. We're seeing we just have about an hour and a half to go before close of day. Let's see if that payment is done. As and when it is, we'll bring you that update for you here on the program. On the other matter also of whether or not this application for the president to trigger Article 72 of the Constitution is necessary. He has been quite eloquent. Mr. Tamaklo has been eloquent in explaining to us why they feel in the wisdom of the Constitution that this should be triggered for the individuals involved in this matter. So let me come back to the studios and speak to Joseph about what has happened today at the NDC headquarters, where a number of supporters have trooped there demanding that the leadership of the party pushes the president, put more pressure on him to have the wish of Mr. Massey and the two panelists released immediately be granted. You already mentioned, Joseph, that the party leaders addressed these supporters and said they would deal with the matter. But did they say exactly what they would do to help this?
Now, we understand the chairman mentioned to the supporters, because at that point I was a bit far off, and he mentioned to them that they should exercise patient and restraint, and that they were already interacting with the president so that he meets the Council of State as soon as possible to ensure that they get the pardon for the gentlemen who have been sentenced. Now, after the superintendent went in and spoke to the chairman and he came back, he informed the supporters. He was trying to find out from them exactly why they are massed up at the party's headquarters. Now, the point they kept making when interacting with the police officer is the fact that they are not come there to engage in violence, but they had come there as party members to put pressure on their party leaders to act in their interest. So they were not over there to engage in violence, and they should therefore be allowed to stay at the party headquarters. Okay.
Now, did they make any demands specific to how soon they want this done?
Those timelines were not, specific timelines were not given. But then again, they are threatening some consequences. They are saying that they may not vote for the NDC, not a vote for the MP, but not a vote for the NDC they mean.
Okay, thank you, Joseph, for these details. Are from the NDC headquarters today. Many of the supporters have been asking, in fact, that the gentlemen, Mr. Massey, Mr. Kogan, and Mr. Nelson be released immediately, pleading with the president to trigger Article 72 of the Constitution, which will see him grant a presidential pardon to them. Let's see what happens in that corner. But a lot of commentary and reactions have been coming thick and fast on this matter. In fact, last night on PN Express, two lawyers or legal brains, Mr. Korea Dodu, a private legal practitioner, and Mr. Yao Opong, took pains to explain what the ramifications would be if the presidential pardon is triggered on this matter.
Can the president say, look, enough is enough? Let me issue my green pen, give them a pardon, let them out.
Well, if I may say so, that would be a scandalous thing to do in a case like this. A case which has a political element to it, let's not get away from that. A case in which crucial public interest issues were being discussed and extremely inflammatory statements were made. Now, the Supreme Court, acting in its independent capacity, has made this ruling and expects the ruling to be carried out. Now, for the executive, the president, the presidency, who under Article 72 would have to act on the advice of the Council of State, so he couldn't act alone in any such decision to pardon. If he was to ride a coach and horses over the Supreme Court's decision, that in a case like this would be a fundamental attack on the independence of the judiciary. And it simply would not be acceptable for the president to do that.
Article 72 states, of course, it says acting in consultation of the Council of State. The president may grant a person convicted of an offense a pardon, either free or subject to lawful conditions, or even substitute less severe form of punishment for the punishment imposed on a person. The point is that the court performs a judicial function, pronounces judgment. The enforcement of it is by the executive or other agents of state, also may be under the executive. And as he says, I think that a situation like this, even though the Constitution doesn't specifically tell which punishment, it wouldn't be politically prudent, nor even legally appropriate. And that doesn't mean to be against the law, but in the general frame of things, it will never be appropriate, especially in an election year like this, in view of the nature of the politics here and how close even elections have been.
The president only ends up in a lose-lose situation if he interferes, in my view. There's no place for the president to interfere with what is ostensibly a straightforward carrying out of the function of the court. The court has had an offense. It's a clear offense of contempt of court. It's contempt in the face of the court, scandalizing the court. There's clear authority. It goes back to 1735 for this actual type of transgression, and it has the power to deal with it, and it's dealt with it. The power of pardon, in my view, should be exercised extremely sparingly by a president, because, as Yao and I have agreed, my learned senior, as I should call it is an interference with the judicial function. There's no question about that. The only time I think it should really ever be used is if there has been a very, very clear miscarriage of justice.
Right, so that's some legal perspective being shared on this issue of the presidential pardon. That's an option being explored today on this matter of the gentleman who have been asked to spend some 4 months in prison for making contemptuous comments. We'll see what happens between now and when, whether or not this pardon request is heeded to or dismissed. We'll go for a break at this point, but still ahead in this bulletin, it seems the culture of mob justice is not leaving us anytime soon. This happened just this morning here at Kokomile in Accra. What is happening? Are we losing faith in our justice delivery system and our law enforcement agencies when people who are suspected to have perpetrated any crime are grabbed by anyone? Details of this and more, plus the ITI bill, concerns being raised about it not being passed with Parliament rising tomorrow. There are many fears that our right to information, we might not get it in this Parliament. Details after the break.